Good. So the title of my presentation is Comparison of 3 different vertical jump height devices. Within the field of exercise science, vertical jump is a common measure that is used for measuring function and performance abilities, and there are numerous devices that we use to calculate vertical jump height. The ones that we used for the purposes of our study were the Vertec, the Just Jump Mat, and the mile test device. The Vertec works by taking a person's vertical jump and subtracting it from their standing reach height. The Just Jump Mat uses flight time from when you leave the contact mat until you come back down on it again. And the mile test is an accelerometer device which also takes flight time into account, and it measures the difference between the time of your peak velocity and your negative peak velocity. So before we use any of these tests out, or any of these devices out in the field, we first want to make sure that they're reliable. So a study was completed by Moyer and colleagues in 2008 looking at the intersession reliability in men and women of the Just Jump Mat. They used 3 trials per session over multiple sessions, and they took the maximal jump heights from each of those sessions to calculate the intersession reliability. They found an interclass correlation coefficient of 0.90 for females and one of 0.93 for males, and concluded that using max jumps over multiple trials was a reliable way to measure intersession reliability in men and women using a Just Jump Mat. With the Vertec and the mile test, we could not find any published studies using or assessing their reliability in measuring vertical jump height. And so the primary purpose of our study was to assess the reliability of all 3 of these devices, and the secondary purpose was to compare maximal jump heights attained from each of the 3 devices. For our study, we used 24 male and 19 female participants. They were all healthy, college-age students. They presented with low risk, they had no musculoskeletal injuries, and they all signed informed consent before participating in the study. They also had a mean age of 19.5 years. The study consisted of 2 sessions completed on between 1 and 2 days apart, and there were 3 trials per session. At the beginning of each, every subject completed a standardized warm-up of 5 minutes on the bicycle ergometer set at half a kilopound resistance, after which they came over to the Vertec and had their standing reach height determined by standing directly below it in an erect position with the feet together and flat on the floor. They extended their arms above their heads, making contact with the vanes of the Vertec. After their standing reach height was determined, we explained the technique of the jump to them, and the technique was based off of recommendations by Isaacs. They started each vertical jump with a counter movement, followed by an explosive jump off of both legs. They brought both arms up above their heads, making sure to keep the head level and the eyes looking forward and not looking up. After having the technique explained to them, they each completed 2 practice jumps to get a feel for what the jump was going to feel like when they actually performed it. Then we attached the mile test device, which you can see right here, to an adjustable belt that went around their waist. They stepped onto the contact mat, the Just Jump Mat, in a comfortable position directly below. Well, the mat was placed directly below the Vertec, and they stepped onto the mat in a comfortable position in relation to the Vertec. After hearing a beep from the mile test, they completed their maximal vertical jump. After the jump was completed, we recorded the results from all 3 devices simultaneously, and they received a 1-minute rest period between each of the jumps. For our statistical analysis, we based our reliability on recommendations by Weir. We looked at intra-session reliability, which looked at any differences between trials 1, 2, and 3. We did this for session 1 and 2. And we also looked at inter-session reliability, which looked at the maximum jump heights from session 1 and session 2. We performed a repeated measures ANOVA, an interclass correlation coefficient, and a standard error of measurement on each of for both inter-session and inter-session reliability. We also did a device comparison of the 3 devices. We performed a one-way ANOVA with a Tukey post-hoc test, looking for any significant differences from the maximum jump heights of session 2. So for our results, on the left side here, we can see each of the 3 devices listed. These first results are for intra-session reliability. This was reliability between trials 1, 2, and 3. Oops, sorry about that. So we have trials 1, 2, and 3 across the top, followed by the interclass correlation coefficient and the standard error of measurement. For females, intra-session reliability in session 1, we can see for the vertex that there is no significant difference across the trials. And the same can be seen for the jump mat and the mile test. And looking at interclass correlation coefficient values, we see that the vertex has the lowest ICC value and subsequently has the highest standard error of measure value. And looking at female results of inter-session reliability from session 2, again we can see that there are no significant differences between the trials in either or any of these devices, and the vertex has the highest standard error of measure, and the mile test has the lowest. Now when we look at the male inter-session reliability, we can see that for both the vertex and the just jump mat, we do have a significant difference. Trial 3 in the vertex and just jump mat is significantly higher than from trials 1 and 2. Again, standard error of measure, highest in the vertex and lowest in the mile test. Looking at males inter-session reliability from session 2, again with the vertex we see a significant difference. This time trials 2 and 3 are significantly higher than trial 1. And the standard error of measure yet again is highest in the vertex and lowest in the mile test. Looking at inter-session reliability, which was comparing the max values from session 1 and session 2, between all 3 devices, for the females, we see that there are no significant differences. For the standard error of measure, we see that it is highest in the vertex and lowest in the mile test. And with males inter-session reliability, as with the females, we see that there are no significant differences between the values from session 1 and session 2. And once again, standard error of measure, highest in the vertex, lowest in the mile test. These graphs are looking at comparing the devices, and remember we used the maximum values from session 2 to do this. The just jump mat had significantly higher values than both the vertex and the mile test. In females, the just jump mat was about 6 centimeters higher than the vertex and about 7 centimeters higher than the mile test. In looking at males, again, we saw a significant difference in the values from the just jump mat and the vertex and mile test. There was about an 8 centimeter difference between the just jump mat and the vertex, and about an 11 centimeter difference between the just jump mat and the mile test. So looking at our conclusions, looking at reliability, we found that the mile test appears to be most reliable among the 3 devices, and the vertex appears to be the least reliable. Looking at intra-session reliability, females seem to be reliable within all 3 devices and all their trials and sessions. With the males, we saw that there were significant differences between their trials in both sessions 1 and 2, suggesting that they have a learning curve that they go through when performing the jumps, leading us to propose a possible addition of trials onto the ends, or onto each session to kind of balance that out. With inter-session reliability, males and females, we found that using the max jump heights was a reliable way to calculate the inter-session reliability, as was found in the Moyer study, which I cited at the beginning of the presentation. And looking at device comparison, we saw that the just jump mat had significantly higher numbers than both the vertex and the mile test. As we did not use a criterion measure within our study, it's difficult to say whether these devices are valid, but we did find measures of reliability. So I would just like to thank all the members of the research team and also the student participants from Slippery Rock University who made this possible. Thank you.
This presentation is now open for questions.
Yes.
You found that the just jump heights had significantly higher jump heights.
Yes.
Can you come up with any explanation as to why, given how we calculate jump heights?
Yes. thought that, so the just jump mat uses flight time from when they leave the mat until when they come back down onto the mat. And we noticed that the use values were significantly higher in pretty much all of the times. So the way that maybe they're jumping, landing back on the mat is having an effect, whether they land on maybe 1 foot or 2 feet, is having some kind of effect on the numbers that it's giving us.
It's actually due to the equation it uses.
I'm sorry?
It's actually due to the equation it uses. What it actually calculates is not how high center mass is raised, but how high it's falling from. So it assumes that takeoff height is exactly the same as landing height in the center mass. So if there's any discrepancies in phi. So you would assume that obviously your center mass is raised high when you take off and then land, then you more flat as you land. So therefore the height falling is greater.
Thank you.
It's actually sort of a lead into my question. If you had to pick one of these 3 devices, which one would you pick and why?
Let me go to our conclusions. Based on the conclusions that we came up with, we found that the mile test appeared to be the most reliable. So just based on that, I would say.
Okay, most reliable, but in terms of most accurate, which one?
Since we didn't use a criterion measure like a camera analysis system, I really can't speak to which would be most accurate. That's obviously something that you could consider for future study or someone else consider.
One other question I have related to reliability. So you used counter movement jump. How did you quantify the degree of counter movement?
It was whatever felt comfortable to them. I mean, they weren't going down to like a full squat position or anything. It was just, a very slight counter movement jump followed by the explosive movement off the 2 legs. Yes?
Could you characterize your warm-up a little more? Because you just said having a based on RPM. Was RPM controlled? What was happening with RPM?
They have pedaled at a rate that was comfortable for them for 5 minutes. I'm sorry?
As the rate across days then?
Yes.
Is that right? So our output was not really known for that then? Did you note RPMs with the subjects or not at all?
We did not. Yes?
Did you find a preference of which one was most comfortable for them to use, OTZ, easier?
We did not ask them. Kind of based on observation. It doesn't really take much to use the mile test. It just kind of sticks on your hip and you jump. So same with the contact net. You're basically just standing and jumping on that. So I would think that the Vertec would be most challenging for people just because they're having to coordinate several movements, jumping and also hitting the vanes at the peak of their jump. So in my opinion, that could possibly be the most difficult for subjects as it requires the most coordination of body movements.
If there are no further questions, another round of applause for Jessica.